Hey y'all, hey, it's your co-host Lucretia Haley, speaker, author, and purpose and relationship coach. And listen, ladies, are you seriously dating and need some guidance to make sure you aren't wasting your time? Or are you engaged and need some wisdom to properly prepare your heart and mind for your upcoming new lifestyle shift? If you said yes to either, then you need to join us in a good thing in the making. It's a 3-day challenge for women who desire marriage and are actively planning for a great marriage. This event will be hosted virtually from December 1st through December 3rd, and I am speaking on day 1, so I definitely need you to come in the room, okay? Registration is required, and details and the link will be in the description. So I cannot wait to see you there. Listen, let's prepare for the man you've been praying for. All right? I love you. Bye. Hey, we're back for another season of When Marriage and Purpose Collide.
We're here to inspire and encourage Christian singles who are striving to date with a desire and purpose for marriage.
We will provide you with thought-provoking hot topics that not only challenge your thinking, but can encourage you in your single season.
We speak about topics like this all the time. We're just taking you along for the ride.
So sit back and join us. On to the episode.
How's it going?
We are back for another episode. Listen, I know y'all see 2 faces on the screen. We had 2 faces last week.
You didn't do the...
I'm gonna do it.
Okay.
See, we just already getting into it already. See, this is why we need them.
Okay.
This is why. Anyway, thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of When Marriage
and Purpose
Collide,
the podcast.
There
we go.
Yay! And I am so honored to have guests here today.
Yes. Again.
Another week.
Yeah.
And this is episode 8 of the podcast. So we got 2 more after this, and then we'll be done with season 4.
Oh, yeah.
You ready? Your phone going off and everything. Good. Yeah. So listen, before we get started, I would like for our guests to go ahead and introduce themselves. You could do a brief intro. Tell us who you are, where you're from, life, whatever it is. Just tell the audience, tell the people, whoever's ready.
Okay, sure. So I'm Shlomo Slatkin.
I'm Rivka Slatkin.
And we're from Baltimore, Maryland. And I'm an Imago therapist. I'm a licensed therapist in Baltimore and practice something called Imago therapy. And Rivka and I together run the Marriage Restoration Project. It's an initiative to help couples stay together and stay happy. And we do workshops together, and I also do private therapy, and we have other clinicians that do the therapy with us as well.
Listen, I'm here for it.
Oh, yeah.
Said marriage restoration.
Restoration.
Okay, you about to be restored today.
Then he had a project today. I like that.
Yeah, well, we got into it because we really needed it for our own marriage. So that's really, you'll hear more about that, but that's why we're here today.
Okay.
Yes, and I can't wait. Like we said, the singles need y'all. We need to hear all about the things, and we're doing preventative maintenance all the time to make sure that everything is up to snuff, like they say.
So okay.
Is that what they say? Anyway, so what we like to start off with is something called confessions. This is my confessions. And so what we do is we share something that is lighthearted, something that maybe made us upset this week, angry, maybe it made us happy, but it's something that people wouldn't normally talk about, kind of deal. So it's an honest confession. So do you have yours first, or you want me to go?
You go ahead.
Okay. My confession today is that I'm this fall here has actually been pretty good. Normally I'm not in Kansas City. For those who are listening, they're like, where y'all at? We're in Kansas City. Fall, normally like the first 2 weeks or whatever, it's like fall and then winter. And so I'm kind of happy that it's actually not been as bad as previous years.
Yeah.
And because I normally, honestly, I I get to the point to where, and this is probably another confession, where I reached like seasonal depression in a way, because I'm from California and I'm used to just not snow, ice, all the things, right? And so I'm not used. So when I approach this season, I kind of get like, oh, I got to go through this again. We got to go through the cold and go through the ice and stay home and inside the house and all the things. So, not to say that it's not coming, but I'm just saying that I feel better about this approaching this time. Like I could get it before it comes. So I'm prepping for whatever may happen. But yeah, my birthday was this week too. So
You mean this whole
Happy
month?
birthday.
yeah, well, the whole month. Yeah, I kind of celebrate though.
And thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, that's my confession. I don't even know if it was a really confession, but it was just me telling my
People don't know.
True.
Yeah.
All right, cool. What you got, babe?
My confession that has to do with what recently happened. My son basically bringing up Foxy, which is our dog that passed away.
Oh yes.
I know it got a little sad.
I know.
It is a little because now he's seeking it as kind of like comfort in a way, which he didn't do that before. But since she's not here, he's using that kind of like as his teddy bear escape.
Yeah.
And it happened randomly. Like he got sad and he was like, "Where's Foxy?" And next, I had a crying moment. And I was just like,
oh. Yeah, it was a touching moment.
Yeah.
That because I'm like, I don't know how much he remembers, but apparently he remembers.
Yeah.
And so you don't know how much kids remember like the dog that was in the house. And he's like, well, she's not here anymore.
Yeah.
And he feels that.
Yeah.
And that was in February, right? When she passed? Yeah.
That was February.
Yeah.
And just this week he was just like, Foxy. I'm like, why now?
About months. Like, So
that was my confession.
Yeah.
I felt sad about it.
We're working through.
Yeah.
We got to remember to put pictures up in the house too. We I think that's one thing too. So I don't know if that'll help or hurt, but we got
it'll help because he wants to see her. So
there you go. So that's what our next step is, to do that.
Yeah, pet loss is so hard. It is.
So it was our family member, so
yeah,
I'm dealing with it. But yes, we didn't want to bring the emotions.
Sorry about that.
Maybe
I usually hit with something wild and goofy, but that was,
I don't know that ours is any better because
we
were talking about what our confession was, and I was like, oh,
we have a joint confession.
Maybe that's too sad, or
let's go for it.
Let's go for it. I was thinking how sometimes at our couples workshops we reveal that we once had like a fight and it lasted, or
didn't last, but we didn't talk about. We had something we didn't talk about basically for 3 years. And we knew that it was.
And it wasn't even a big deal, but for some reason we were just both so mad about it. For 3 years, we're like, we can't talk about it. Like,
wow.
I was so afraid to bring it up until we left. Until we went out of the country for our 20th anniversary. Then we
spoke about it, and it took 2 seconds, and it was like no big deal. But for some reason, like during those 3 years, neither of us were like, we're not talking about it.
That is funny. It was something that was under the rug. So basically you can see that thing under the rug for 3 years. Cause you know how they say you put something under the rug, like y'all pushed it far. Okay.
And it wasn't,
it was
even
about
a big
something
deal.
that had happened. It wasn't like something that was like necessarily like relevant to ongoing interactions, but it was like something that happened that it was like upsetting.
Yeah, it was so silly. It was very silly. Now looking back, we're like, why did we wait all that time? Like looking back, it just looks so stupid, but
that's
hilarious. Whatever.
But you said in your 20th anniversary is when y'all kind of let it go, or how did that?
No, we talked. We went away and we like had a chance to really talk about it.
Okay.
And interesting. Yeah. So we just and now looking back, we're like, why did we wait 3 years to discuss it? But we did. I don't know. So
it's funny. I mean, it's only because of the position you all are in now, how you do workshops and things like you said. And so to say that
it's like very ironic, but we kind of let couples at our workshops laugh at us when we talk about it because so.
It's busy. All the kids, deal with all their drama. So to actually sit down and talk about it, we just didn't make the time. And
yeah.
Well, that's a good one. I like the joint confession.
That's a nice icebreaker.
That's right. Right. So
All right. Well, thank y'all so much for sharing your confession. I really appreciate it. I love when guests are able to get into it with us and be able to at least share something. So, all right. We have 2 questions that we like to ask guests on our podcast, and DJ is going to take it away.
Yep. So the first question is, what compelled you to join this conversation?
Well, a friend of mine reached out and she said she had just listened to this wonderful podcast and it was yours. And she's like, I really think you should reach out to them. They're so great. And so I did. And it was, a while back, but you guys are such great role models, helping other couples and singles find their way. And it's not easy this day and age. And I think it's just wonderful to see another couple out there that, is strong and family and purpose. And we are just honored to be here.
Oh, thank
Okay.
you. Yeah, it's been a long time coming, Rivka.
Yes, life got in the way, but we are here. We are fully present with you.
Yes,
So.
I loved it. It was a pleasure to see your inbox message and say, hey, I was like,
Yeah.
I guess it's always somebody I know. That's why that I
Yeah,
invite. And so it was like, oh, we don't know them. Yay, we're reaching people.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you are reaching people because this friend reached out and
I'm gonna have to ask you who that was.
Yeah,
I didn't even know.
yeah, I was like, I'm now curious. I'm like, who is this friend? Like,
I'm happy to share. She's actually a pretty well-known author. Her name is, it's a little hard to pronounce because it's a Hebrew name, but it's Bracha Getz. So she's a published children's author.
Awesome.
And I think mostly maybe Jewish books, but she's a really wonderful person, and she's the one who told me to reach out.
Awesome. Listen, we're reaching airwaves.
You are.
Look at that. Look at that. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Go ahead.
Sure.
All right. The second question is, what are your thoughts surrounding the current state of singles and dating nowadays?
Sure. So
there's so much to say on this.
I know.
I know, right?
Yeah. Maybe just a few points. I think a lot of people are afraid of marriage. They want to be married, but they're afraid because they don't know what it's going to be like, and they're afraid it's not going to work because they see so many relationships that don't work. It could be they even came from a home where the parents got divorced. So I think there's a lot of fear about that. And we find in relationships, the most important thing is commitment. If a couple's committed, they can make it work. And I think if you have enough chemistry, have enough connection, enough shared vision, purpose for what you want for your life, if you're committed, you can make it work, because no relationship is perfect. So one of the things, I don't want to make people scare people, but one of the things that we talk about all the time in our couples workshops and private work is that relationships start off in that romantic stage, but they also inevitably go into what we call a power struggle. So it's normal. And the power struggle is an opportunity to learn about what's bothering you in order to create what we call the conscious marriage, conscious relationship. So the conflict is going to happen in every relationship, but the good news is that it doesn't mean it's the end of the relationship. So if singles would know about that, I think it would be easier for them to have a realistic idea of what marriage is all about. It would be easier for them to commit because they know it's not going to be perfect. But if there's enough good going for them, I think that would be helpful. Because I think people are picky, right? People are just like, I need to have perfect, everything's got to be, all the stars have to line up, and unfortunately, it doesn't always work that way.
It doesn't. And that's what I think needs to be known. The pickiness, y'all got to figure out what the key points in this, because you're being too picky. That's why you're still single. Okay. So if you want to be real, right? Did you look like you had something to say? Sorry.
Oh, no, I was going to say I was picky.
No.
But maybe the pickiness comes from the fear of, wanting to make sure that, if things will be good.
You want to make sure, and people get in their head also. They get in their head a lot. They don't allow themselves to get in their heart and to really feel and be open to meeting somebody. So we also kind of I think that people exclude people because they've already marked them off. Oh, well, not that person, and that person, that person's not for me. Yep. And I think if people would be more open, they would be less picky.
Yeah,
that's the part, out of their comfort zone. Because our story, we met online actually, and so that was out of my comfort zone of even doing something like that. And so I had to, even as I scrolled and was swiping or whatever online, I was I was set on a particular type of guy that I wanted, you know, but then those guys never worked out or never went anywhere. And so finally I had to open my eyes and open, you know, to something more like, okay, if I'm not getting the guy, you know, if nothing's ever successful with this, then maybe I should try something different. And so that's when I saw his picture pop up. And so I was like, this is different for me. He's wearing his work uniform, you know, so I'm just going to go ahead and DM. Let's try this, you know, kind of
That's
deal,
so great.
you know? And so I had to, and even before even online dating, I had to just try and just get out there and see what wasn't for me, what was for me. And then I realized that, okay, I've got my way. I was like, okay, now I know how to maneuver with communication and talk and, you know, meet a guy and talk to one. So I know he's looking at me because he normally shares that story because he likes how I hopped in the DMs and
I enjoy every bit of that.
he approached me like the
He liked that you were forthcoming, that you
yeah.
Oh yeah,
That's
she hit me up,
nice.
and the thing was, I wasn't even looking. I was relaxing, really, and the app was still on my phone. I was like, "Oh, I'm getting a message."
Yeah.
So let me see what it is.
Sometimes it's so great. Like I think we also could relate to both not really looking, but then it
I
just
was like,
happening.
I was just
Really?
somebody suggested it, and I said, okay, why not? Like, but I wasn't really like looking. I wasn't like, I didn't think I was ready to get married at the time.
Sometimes it's nice to be in a place where it's like you're not pressured and you're just kind of open to whatever comes.
Yeah.
And this could be good.
Yeah. So I kind of want to maneuver into that. I know. Thank you so much for asking answering, excuse me, the questions.
Like,
yeah. I mean, hey, thank you for answering. But I kind of want to, since you're talking about your journey before you met, can you share a little bit about your single journey? Maybe about maybe where you were in your single journey before you both met, and then maybe you can go into the process of meeting each other.
Sure. Well, I guess I'll start. My parents divorced when I was like age 11, and I feel like it was a really traumatic thing. We were like the first divorce in my neighborhood, in my community, like in the early 90s. So it was like this big, nowadays so many people, but it was very rare then. So I feel like it really defined me. And growing up, I was very determined that like through the pain, I wanted to learn everything I could about how to improve myself and learn how eventually one day have a good relationship, because I did not want to repeat what I saw at home. So then just everything was always from that vantage point. So like just very motivated to be as good as I could be. So then I went to college, and I'm trying to remember, and just everyone I met, like I just wanted to learn from them. And one time I was living with someone and then a family, and then one of their daughters got married, and then the husband was like, "Hey, I have a guy for you. What are you looking for?" And so I mentioned, like, I really want someone just that's like very motivated in life, not lazy. And then he called me the next day. He's like, "I have a guy for you, and he's calling you in 5 minutes." I'm like, "Okay."
What?
So, and then Shlomo will tell you what he was doing at the time. I think he was watching the playoffs, and he's like, "Wait, what? I had to interrupt my show to make a call."
That is hilarious.
But yeah, and then I knew from the phone call, really, like and those days we didn't see pictures.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know what he looked like, but from the phone, I knew that this was going to go somewhere, because it's funny. My mother, she's, kind of like a little bit of a feminist. And when we were growing up, she would always say, "Girls," me and my two sisters, she's like, "Pay attention to men out there, just like notice what they're like and think like, do I want someone like that? Or do I not like those qualities?" So she's like, "You got to make a list and write down what are the things that are most important to you." So I actually had a list in my top desk drawer. And when after our phone call, I actually opened the drawer and I looked at the list, and my top thing on my list was I wanted someone who was a good listener. And from the phone call, that first phone call, I would just be talking and saying things I didn't think were even that important. And Shlomo would ask me questions about them, and he was really listening. And I was like, wait a minute, this is what I'm looking for. So I was very excited to meet him for that very first time.
Oh my goodness.
And I went into it with a good intention.
That's amazing. I love that story.
Thanks.
I love that story. And before we get to you, Shlomo, I like what you said. First off, this the friend, and you said it was her husband that,
yeah,
like you being open for it. And what I've been talking to a lot of the women I coach now, the single women I coach, is being okay with saying that I'm okay with, I want to be married. I desire to have somebody in my life, and being okay with saying that to other people you know that are around you, that love you, that care for you, because you never know who has a friend or can bring that. That's another way of helping prospects, possible prospects get to you. But then also I enjoy hearing about the list, because I did something similar too. And one of my friends did. Actually, I borrowed, how she did it. And she started off with the list and met her guy. They're married now. And so it was like, and it wasn't like you said, it wasn't like, I want him to have brown, tall, 6, whatever. It was like the things I really valued. And
real values.
The real value for me. And then when we started talking is when those showed up. So I appreciate hearing that. Yeah.
Yeah, the list. I used to roll my eyes when my mom would tell me to do it, but I'm actually quite grateful to her for suggesting to make a list.
Awesome.
Hope she's listening.
Listen, go ahead and share it.
Right.
All right, go ahead, Shlomo. What you got?
Yeah, so the interesting thing is that we didn't say is that in our circles, when people are dating to get married, so it's not just like, want to go out and have a girlfriend or boyfriend. It's more about like for purpose of marriage. So at that point in my life, I was like, 22. I finished college and I went to study abroad for a year in Israel, and then I kind of came back abruptly. I wasn't sure what I was doing. Didn't have a life kind of career plan at the point. I was just figuring myself out. I'm just like, people were asking me, "Oh, do you want to go out?" I'm like, I know that means to get married. I'm like, I'm not interested in getting married. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. So I went out. I did go out with one person, and then they said like, well, he doesn't know what his career is going to be, so I'm not really comfortable like with him. So then when I got a call from this guy, I said, I want to let you know, like, I can't have anybody with expectations. Like, if they like me, they like me. I'm not like, I don't have a whole plan here. Just to be willing to tolerate that. So we spoke on the phone, and also, we met the first time. It was like, the done deal almost. I mean, we got engaged probably 8 weeks later.
Wait a minute.
Needless to it was 12 dates. It was 12 dates total.
Y'all have a book that 12. That y'all should be a movie. 12 dates. And then,
right.
It could have been less than that, but I think that it's because we knew what our goal was, and we talked about the important things.
Yeah.
We talked the whole time. It wasn't like we were like going to a movie or something. Like, Rivka says I talked for 7 hours the first date.
He did,
but I think she talked a little bit. But so we talked about important things. Like, we knew about we talked about our family. We talked about what we wanted for our life. And so it went. We were able to go. It's another thing's interesting because we're both very, I would say, like, deep people. So we were able to talk about deep things and create a deep connection really quickly. So it was like we didn't need to like go out. And I think it's another point about dating, even though we're not talking about dating now. But
yeah, go ahead.
For dating, I think when people can be vulnerable with each other and really connect on a deeper level, then it can definitely expedite the process and can help people know each other better as well. Otherwise, like, people think, oh, I have to date for years with the same person. It's like, why isn't it going anywhere? The more you can get vulnerable and really connect, then I think that it can expedite it. But so that's what happened with us, and that the rest is history.
That's a beautiful story. And so when did you actually get married? How did that?
I feel like it was like 2.5 months later. Like the whole thing started.
We met April 29th and got married
August 21st.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
In our world, we're in the Orthodox Jewish world.
Sure.
So people date where there's not like necessarily that romantic, we definitely felt a romantic connection, but we're discouraged to touch. Actually, you're not really supposed to touch.
Listen,
so without the confusion of the physical stuff, when that's taken out of the picture, then you don't have like those really confusing times where you connect, let's say, in an intimate way, and then it doesn't work out. Like, you're really just very driven about the life quality, the goals, to make sure they're in line.
That's key, because that was the focus. it wasn't physical. Everything was like you said, you had kept the connection, you were vulnerable with each other, and you kept something's flying around.
I saw it.
Okay. So you kept all that happening within the relationship. So it was like, well, we're right for each other. Let's just, this is
let's just do it.
Let's just do it.
Yeah, I mean, but we certainly had you have to also make sure the physical.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely liked each other a lot. It was very hard
because we wanted to have physical, but
of course
we couldn't. So it was like, that was down the line. So
yeah, we got to talk about that too on our journey.
Mm-hmm. Are you waiting for me to answer?
I didn't know if you
Sorry,
wanted to say
I was asking about food.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, about our journey of saving ourselves for marriage. Now, it would have been great for us not to touch, but it was a struggle.
Yeah. It's hard.
Well, I had to set firm boundaries, and it was for myself, but she was like, oh, okay.
Right.
Like the time boundaries, like I wouldn't go into her house after a certain amount of time. I called them vampire hours.
Wow.
I was like, hey, it's dark outside and it's 9 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not walking in.
And he was the first guy that I dated that was very stern about that. Even the things that I would wear too. He would nudge me and be like, yeah, so you might have to
and not a way like you can't wear that outside.
Right, exactly.
It was more like you showing a little bit more skin is gonna make me fall out.
Yeah, I don't want to do it. So. And so, it's a lot of things that, and it was new for me. I'm sure new for you.
Oh yeah.
We're just navigating the waters. And so, we definitely can relate to that part.
Yeah. The thing is, although it was new for me, but it was more like I know myself and I know what can make me, a certain way. So I was just like, okay, I'm gonna set boundaries at those points. And it wasn't for like, oh, you can't do that. It was more like, please help
yourself.
Yeah. Not cross that line by doing these things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that
makes sense. Wow.
Yeah. So I definitely, it was a lot quicker though, you all did, but
yeah,
it was, but we, after a year, I always get it wrong. How long after we met did we get married?
It was less than 8.
Yeah.
Hey, it's your girl, Lucretia Haley, speaker, author, and purpose and relationship coach. Can I speak to you for a bit? When it comes to relationships, finances, career switches, life transitions, and dealing with you, it does seem like a ton of work. You've been struggling with your next move in life or hitting a season of unknown, and some of you may feel like you are broken beyond repair, and it's gotten a little chaotic. Can I tell you something? Life will always be filled with chaos. You cannot run away from what is going on in this world and what you are hit with. You can control how purposeful you are once you wake up in the morning and start your day. It is a choice. Maybe in your prayer time and reflection, God has been telling you exactly what to do, and you've still been stagnant, or maybe you just don't even know where to start. In Finding Purpose Within the Chaos, 14-day journal workbook, you will hit 14 target areas in your life that may be keeping you from pressing go. Whether you are in these dating streets, needing to set boundaries at work, mending close relationships with close friends or relatives, or even overcoming procrastination, it's time to put in the work and take action. Let me help you with Finding Purpose Within the Chaos. It's now available on Amazon. Link in the description. Love y'all. Bye.
Oh, so actually a year and a half before. So we met in January of that year of 2015, and then we got married in June of 2016.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
And so engaged on Christmas Day.
I was about to say, you about to skip the engagement part.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We don't want to spend too much. People know about us all the time on this podcast. We're together with people on here.
Hopefully by season 4, they know us.
Right. If they've been binge watching us, hopefully. Well, thank y'all so much for sharing about your story from singleness to marriage. I know it's going to bless a lot of people out there when they hear that. So what I am so interested in is the marriage restoration project. Like, how to get started, like whose idea was it? How's it going? What's the stuff? Like, give us all the details.
Oh my goodness, sure. You guys are real juicy.
Yeah, so I'll give you the G-rated version. So
Okay.
basically what happened is, so we had this fairy tale engagement and marriage, and then we started having fights, and it kind of all kept going on and on and on until we had our first child. About that part in the 2-year mark of our relationship, of our marriage, that's when we kind of got to the point where it's like, we need to get help. And I was like, we need to get help. So we both had 2 people that suggested the same type of therapy, Imago therapy. They said, you really have to do Imago. So I dragged Rivka to an Imago therapist, and it was unbelievable. The first session, we felt back in love again, and it was really hard for us because we felt so connected, but then we saw all this conflict happening, and we just didn't know what to do. And it really gave us hope. It really helped us see things differently. It gave us a way to be able to communicate our differences and understand why we were triggering each other. And at that time, I was getting my master's in counseling psychology. I wanted to be a pulpit rabbi, but instead this became my ministry, so to speak.
Wow.
And I did the training to become an Imago therapist. So I was doing my practice for a while and working with couples. But at some point, you want to share the next point?
I just felt like so many people around us were getting divorced. And I felt like, what are they going to do with their kids? I remember being a child of divorce, and how traumatic it was. And I just felt like, gosh, we just need to do something to spread more awareness and education about why typical marriage counseling doesn't work a lot of times, and what people can do to really see results. And I just felt like we got to do something. So that's when we branded the Marriage Restoration Project and kind of differentiated ourselves from typical counseling, using Imago, which is, the therapy Shlomo practices, and then also doing things in 2 days rather than counseling that just takes weeks and weeks and months for people to get clarity. We wanted to give people results like immediately, if possible, and help people get clarity right away rather than having to wait. So yeah.
So we do group workshops and private intensive retreats with couples.
I love it. So can you share a little bit more? You mentioned, Rivka, about the way marriage counseling was done and the Imago therapy. What's the difference? Like, I'm sure people are like, well, wait a minute, like,
yeah,
should I go this way? Like, which way? Give us a little bit more background on that.
Yeah, I could talk for hours on this, but I'll just say that, as a kid, I remember like my father once calling, and he's like, give me the phone number on the bulletin board that says marriage counselor. And he was yelling, and there's so much negativity around counseling and marriage, specifically when a couple's in crisis. And when we went to our very first Imago session, the therapist had us sitting across from each other, knee to knee, holding hands, looking into each other's eyes, sharing. One person would talk, the other person would repeat back what they heard. It was such a different experience where it was safe, it was emotionally connected. So just number one, just the atmosphere is completely different, because you can't bring what's happening at home into an office and expect for a different result. That's like, who said it? Einstein's definition of insanity is, if couples are screaming, shaming, blaming each other at home, then how is it going to be any different if you just take that into a therapist's office? It's going to be the same exact thing. And in Imago, there are very clear structured boundaries of who gets to talk, who gets to respond, and when. There's no yelling, there's no shaming, there's no blaming, there's no name calling. So that's number one. Big difference right there. Another difference is, so in regular like Western medicine, the way our medical system is set up is therapists usually need a diagnosis to bill insurance, right? So they have to like have an official diagnosis. The problem is that in a marriage, if you like decide, oh, okay, the husband is this or the wife is this, then automatically you're creating like a division between the couple, because you're the therapist and you're diagnosing one or the other. So number one, then the couple feels like someone's taking sides, and you're almost like, yeah. And so the therapist like is sort of automatically going into it where they have to pick a side in order to give like the diagnosis. And what we believe is it's not about him or her that's the problem. It's about the space between us. And it's the space between us that's the patient with the diagnosis, not either one of the partners. And so the therapist and an Imago therapist views relationships from what's called the relational paradigm rather than the individual paradigm, which is the typical Western way of looking at it is, I want to help this individual, you know, let me
Or looking at the symptoms as opposed to the root cause, and dealing as a unit, looking at the unit and how it functions as opposed to focusing on the problems. Because when we focus on the problems, then you can focus on, well, this person or that person. Whereas if you focus on the dynamic, then we're focused more on the process than the content. For the process, and then once we focus on the process, then we get better results because the issues get resolved and nobody feels like they're being
it's like a dance. It's kind of like a dance, you know. He will do something, let's say, and then I'll feel triggered, I'll get triggered and then behave a certain way, and it's not either one of us, it's this space. So
wow, like, no, I'm sorry,
that might have been a long way to explain, but
there's a lot more about like the differentiates, but specifically about how we work. So typical Imago therapy is like 90 minutes, which is a lot. But if you do weekly therapy, you know, every week there's a new crisis that comes up. You have to triage that. You really don't have a chance to really explore and go deep. So we found that doing a 2-day private retreat with a couple, an intensive or a group workshop, couples really get the information. They really get the breakthrough. I mean, we just did a group workshop last week, and it's some unbelievable people who've been married for 20, 30, 40 years. And in 2 days, they just see everything differently. And it really just changes the whole trajectory of their relationship. Whereas if they were to come for 60 minutes, and maybe they would feel a little bit better, but then next week they'll come back with another issue and they never dealt with the first one. So
wow. Like it's changing my mind around how we see counseling or how we see therapy. Like you, and I didn't know that there were other ways to do this. It was always like one way. You know, you go, and then when you said about the when you go to counseling, some traditional counseling, and I've heard a lot of that where the therapist would pick a side, and it's like, you're the blame, you're the problem, and so that causes the shame to be on that person. It's like, but wait a minute, what about them? Like, they've been doing the same things, and so it's like, it's that back and forth, and it's like, you want them to get healing, you want them to be restored and all that, but now this one person is the blame, and so they don't want to cause them not to go back or whatnot. You know, I've had people that went set through a consultation, and they're like, I already feel like he's like, it's the man saying this. It's like, oh yeah, he's on my case already, I don't want to go back, you know, kind of deal, or she's on my case, like I'm the problem, you know, kind of deal. And so pointing fingers, you know.
Yeah, exactly. The relational paradigm makes it safe for both to show up and both be fully present because that blame is taken away.
And I always tell couples, I'm not here to judge. I'm not the judge or the jury. I'm not here to say who's right or wrong. I'm here to help the two of you interact.
Yeah, that's key.
Yeah, that's what I was sitting there thinking about, where they had them sit together, actually looking at each other, kind of removes the distraction, but also creates an intimacy in a way.
And awkwardness.
But that's the part where it's the way they're doing it is helping you build the structure of talking. So if you're used to, like they're saying, if you're used to arguing all the time and everything, nothing is really going through. So that's the process they're talking about. They're okay, we're coming to fix your process, but we need to find a structured way of doing that. So we're going to have you sit right there in front of each other. Yeah, you're uncomfortable because right now you're not feeling the same way you was towards that person. If it was at the beginning of the relationship, you would have been fine.
But you know, after a while, like even after, I don't know scientifically how many moments it takes, but once you're looking into each other's eyes, even if there has been a lot of conflict, like I think with neurophysics, suddenly like the body can calm down, even if they're married and they're having lots and lots of bickering. Like at some point, the body actually calms down. Like DJ's saying, like that eye contact becomes like intimacy, and they can remember, oh, this is the person I fell in love with. Like, oh yeah, it's you.
They've forgotten about it because they're just busy fighting and distracted by life.
No, that's good. I had so many questions going through my brain.
Yeah, so.
It's like I
Well,
don't even know which one to pull.
And for the people that are dating, because I know you guys really help a lot of people that are dating, like
Yeah.
that same eye contact and that same delivery and style of communication, you know, we sometimes tell singles, like, you can use it on dates. Like when somebody says something, just repeat back what you heard them say, and you will suddenly be the most attractive person in the whole entire, you know.
I had a lot of actually older singles that people have said like, oh, they're never going to get married. And I work with them, and then all of a sudden they meet the next person, they get married, because they become the more you can become self-aware of yourself, and also to learn some of these communication skills, but just to be more self-aware and how you interact in a relationship, and also that it can help you tremendously.
And that's good that you say that, because we do something called the check-in every month, bi-weekly is what we do. We'll try to do bi-weekly, you know, attempt to. And so, but I think at one point I told you we should look at each other, you know, and we tell we have a check-in cheat sheet that people are able to get from us if they want one, if you're dating, engaged, or married. And so
I think I put the commercial right there. Go ahead.
No, and so basically where it's important to where we're looking at one another. And I remember one time I told him, look in my eyes for like 30 seconds or whatever. And it was just the awkwardest. It was so awkward, but you can feel
That's cute. He liked it.
But it was good. It helped. Like when it was going on, the kids were playing around or whatever it was, like we just had a moment of where we just sat and just looked at one another in each other's eyes, and it just made a whole difference. We didn't have to say a word. We didn't have to say anything.
Yeah,
like, you know. And so it's good that that's also something that could be done in the singles dating stage. The question also for your workshops and things like that, like in what area of crisis, or maybe not a crisis, like what kind of couples come in to say they need the work? Like, is it in every stage? Are they about to head for divorce? Is it newlyweds? Like, who mostly do you see? Is there a trend, or is it more so like we need you, period, in our lives? We need help. What does it look like?
Well, I'd say a lot of the time the couples are in crisis.
They are in crisis. Okay.
However, for the group workshops, we have people in all different stages. I mean, we actually had somebody come this time, and they said at the end, because they said they have a good marriage, but they just want more skills. And she announced to the group at the end, she said, you know what, I want to let you know that, like, even though, like, you might think, people asked me in the beginning, like, why are we here? Because like our marriage is good, we don't have any problems. But she said that she learned so much from being there with all the other couples that were struggling. And it was just a great experience for everyone all around, because the issues, we find that we're not just teaching you, like, you know, do this, do that. We're giving, I would say like general principles and understandings of how relationships work. And this kind of, it was relevant to everyone in any stage. And people can relate to it, whether people have been married for 40 years or
they're engaged.
Newlyweds.
Yeah. It's great for engaged couples also, because they really can start off with a good foundation and really learn, like, right from the get-go. Like, I wish we had gone to something, you know, when we were engaged, because then we would have known how maybe to avoid some of the conflicts.
Yeah, and that's the part right there. I'm like, would be so great for those who are engaged in their engaged season, or, you know, before they dive in, just to know one another, find the things that work, the skills that work beforehand. Because we do promote, you know, going to counseling or therapy before you get married. I mean, even some couples even go before they even get engaged, you know, because they have stuff going on in their personal lives. They're trying to blend the two. So we promote that. Go get the help first. Like, don't wait until you're married or till red flags, you know, all the things happening, alarms are going off in the marriage before you even try to go. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's nice kind of to do like a marriage, like a couples retreat in a way, because then it's not like therapy, but it's can be also romantic, like a retreat getaway. So I think it's a great thing to include, like in the, you know, in the wedding planning or pre-wedding planning.
I like
the nice thing. Yeah.
Oh, that's actually good. And this was the 2 days, correct?
So we actually have a 5-day, 4-night retreat coming up in Costa Rica.
Ooh.
And that's like a really beautiful way for, like if someone's planning their honeymoon, like why not tag it on to a relationship retreat. So I think those are really nice ways to make it less about like going to therapy, but having this really wonderful experience.
It's like a workshop, like an educational experience.
Gotcha.
Workshop.
And it's Costa Rica.
Yeah, and
A workshop on the beach.
Right.
Exactly. Do it on the beach in the tropical forest. Like it's a very beautiful ambient setting that makes it even better to do some work.
That is amazing. I'm telling everybody about that because goodness. And how long does the offer stand? I got a couple people I need to get married first. Like
right.
in my life.
I'm
waiting on some of my friends, my single friends. I'm like,
they are welcome to come. We really should do one for singles too, but one day we'll get there. But
okay.
Yeah.
So you know who to call on.
Yes, we do.
So
you guys are welcome anytime.
Yes, I'm excited. I'll listen. Okay. So I was perusing, of course, just researching you all, and I love the website. First off, let's say it's so helpful. All of the resources that you provide for people in every season of what they're in their relationship, just to be able to grab and click and get. Like, I was like, this is amazing. Like, you don't see that often on a lot of, it's usually like, you have to come see us first before you get it. It's like, no, we have it. You don't even have to have a consultation with us. You can click and get the things that you need, but then you also talk about the retreats and things. But I did peruse and I was like, oh, wait a minute. It talks about your story a little bit. And it talked about your experience of parenting stress and household stressors and ADHD and the things that kind of almost tore you apart. I think you might have mentioned that already, Shlomo, but I don't know if that was in a different season after the year with the one baby or if it was later on. But is there anything else you can share about how you all dealt with those issues that have you all encountered and how you all overcame those?
Well, I think that because we did that imago therapy in the beginning, or towards the beginning, that helped us throughout. So even when other things popped up, things pop, you cannot predict. I say that being married is about being flexible, and you can't predict how things are going to go. And ultimately, it's about kind of like giving up control and just being present in the moment and being committed to each other. And I feel like the work that we did and the understanding that we had about each other, especially about the baggage that we both brought from childhood into the relationship, it helped us be able to weather these storms. Or I think that otherwise, I'm not really sure if we would have been able to.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of storms, even after that first time.
Man. Even after we're doing this professionally, it's, we're human beings too, and we have things, triggers and issues, and
now we have 5 kids and not just one. So
it's like the process you have to like remember, like copy paste, but then like put it in different areas of your life so you can overcome them.
Yeah, and adapt. That's one thing.
Yeah, we definitely had to adapt, and we still have to adapt.
But we have that. We know we have the skills. So if we know if there's something we need to deal with, we're confident we can do it. Yeah. I think before it was scary because we didn't know what we were doing, and we didn't know there was a better way, and that was really, really scary. So we know there's a better way. We just have to put the pedal to the metal and do the work. And we also have, I think, a commitment, at least, that we understand why we have tension. So we're not like, we don't have one foot out the door, at least.
Okay.
Yeah, I think just you being able to share and be real about that, because I'm sure that's what you share in your workshops and your group, workshops and things to other people to help them pull in. So once they hear your story, they're like, oh, wait a minute, they did it. Like if they were able to overcome, I definitely know with 5 kids, come on now.
Yeah. And we're very that's why people like it, because we're also very transparent, and they see us in the workshop. They see we're not perfect. We're not one of those people that get up on stage and we're like, we have all the answers. Like, no, I mean, sometimes we'll have a little argument at a workshop. So I mean, not usually, but so it's very transparent.
Yeah, and that's I think it helps. It helps with, at least, especially when I work with couples privately, because I know what they're going through. I mean, everybody has a different story, but I believe and I have the hope and that they can make it work, because I know that I believe in what we're doing. I know that it works, and we want to share it with others.
Yeah, so that's amazing. Is there anything you want to add?
Well, one, I can see why the friend said do an interview with us, because it's kind of like a reflection of what we're doing with what they're doing too.
Yeah.
But also it's like, am I seeing double here?
That's great.
I ain't gonna lie, I do want to go to Costa Rica. When they talking about us, like, you know what, we might have to. I get some vacation time.
Yeah,
we might have to, because I don't mind adding on, not when things get bad and trying to know, do things, but I don't mind adding on to it.
Yeah,
and that's always helpful.
It's like I said before, it's like before we started, we always are finding ways to do preventative maintenance on us. It's just like a car checkup, you know, he handles all the cars stuff, all the things. But it's just like, I'd look at the beeps, and I guess that goes for our
there's a light. All right, I got it.
And I'm looking at it, something's going on in there. I don't know what it is. Can you check it? But that's kind of how relationships, are. Like, you find the pain points and you try to work it out together. And so I'll see him out there working on the car, and I'm like, did you fix it? He said, no, I got to figure out another way because I don't know. And so, but his persistence is what also made me attracted, to him too, because I'm like, he's really determined to try to figure out how to make this work. So, and that's what we do on a daily basis when it's with the issues that come up, the trials that we encounter. Because man, it's been some interesting moments these past but some blessings this year has been you see the work that you put in to communicate, to share your feelings, to share our needs, our expectations of one another over time, and then you see the fruit of that in certain seasons. You're like, man, we did put in work, like a lot, to do that. And then we want to do the next step, but I want to go further and deeper. So this is why I love what you all are doing, because we want to show that it might look picture perfect, but it's not, we want to be able to do that, to be able to help other people. So this is what we're here for. We're here to share our story with those who don't know about what marriage looks like, how singleness was for us, all that. So we appreciate that.
That's great. It's so nice that you can also appreciate DJ Lucretia, just like his rock, and that it sounds like DJ, you're very good with, like, what I was attracted to with Shlomo was just his groundedness and very clear path. And that reminds me when I'm feeling like, with everything in life, like he is, committed and, stable. And it's nice to continually have opportunities to appreciate those qualities that originally 23 years ago, I was attracted to. So
that's amazing. That is. I want to revisit something though, because I love this, and then we'll get to close on here is the 2 days. I want to talk about the 2 days real quick of saving a marriage within 2 days. Can you go back to that? Like, so if somebody comes in and they're knowing they're coming into the 2 day, is it a retreat or is it a all day deal? So they sign up.
It's like well, we have the group in the private. The private, for example, it's it's 6 hours each day. And they come back the next day.
Okay. And is that virtual, or is that only in
sometimes it's virtual. So we have virtual, we have in person with people that travel. We have clinicians in other locations, of people that are local to people, so they go to their local clinician for the 2 day experience.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I was just wanting to encourage folks out there for this 2 day experience. If you're married out there, married, right? Married couples.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Committed relationships.
Relationships, that could be a option for you all out there to really tackle things in 2 days, like to really figure this thing out and to put in the work. Like, that can actually happen. So is there any more about the 2 days that you would like to share, or any other strategies that may go in these 2 days that you can share with folks about how they can actually save their relationship, or maybe figure out, if you're not married, maybe not to be together no more. Maybe it's not.
I think that what it does is it gives you, like someone once said, it's like a spa experience. It's like you get to come for 2 days and you just get to soak it in, and you learn so much about yourselves. You learn about your childhood experiences and your early formative relationships, which we find that in imago therapy that really kind of leads you to find your spouse. and also creates the conflict that you have. So it gives you so much more insight and helps you create what we said, that conscious marriage, to begin to get out of the power struggle. So there's a whole kind of like paradigm shift that people have when they do this work. And then besides that, they learn a very specific process of skills to be able to communicate. And it's not just like, we're going to teach you this and practice it at home. We have them work out the issues in real time. So you get to actually experience, wow, I really feel heard and understood. I never thought you really got me until now. Now I understand why this bothers you so much. And it's just a real eye opener. I mean, I had a couple today, and we were doing this dialogue where they actually talked about, having a dialogue with their parent. And the wife's talking to the parent. And afterwards, she's like, this is crazy. Like, I didn't think I had a bad relationship with my mother. I had a pretty good childhood, but I realized that the same things I said that I'm telling my mother right now are the same things I tell my husband on a daily basis.
And complain about.
And the complaints I have about my husband, this is exactly what I'm telling my mother. And he heard it too. And he's like, wow, like, I didn't get it. I didn't understand until now. This is a huge eye opener, because we're seeing that. So things like that, it's just, I love being a part of it, because I like having people have that aha moment, that kind of light bulb that turns off, because it really shifts everything. And that's precisely why, 2 days, how's it going to change anything? But that's precisely why just having people see things from a different perspective kind of flips everything on its side and gives them a new way of looking at things and newfound hope to move forward together.
I like that. I really do. I really enjoy that. The marriage restoration, the marriage restoration project, the 2-day, is it intensive? I don't want to miss. I'm just saying
intensive retreat. Yeah,
that's what I was.
There's a million ways to say it.
Okay, I was like, all the things, like, everybody listen out here. We are giving all the stuff to y'all. This is a resource right here. Y'all are wondering how to save your relationship. Like, really, like, they are here. You just hop on their website and they got things. You hop in, join the programs they have. I need you all to really get into it. Okay, get into it.
We're very accessible. Anyone could always reach out. We have tons of stuff they can look at, like you said. So we're happy to help.
Yeah, we do have, like, you can book a clarity call with me. I'm happy to hear about your situation and see how we can help and guide you into which program would be helpful. Otherwise, and we also have a lot of great resources on
tons of resources.
And I think y'all had a skit on there too. Were y'all two acting?
You know what's crazy is we were technically acting, but it was actually a real fight that, like, we had over and over again, and then we just sort of, like, were a little more dramatic about it, but then it was totally real.
It feels real when I watch that video.
It's hilarious. That is so funny. See, now y'all really got to go on the website and look. See what we're talking about.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Do you have
that was a fight? Yeah, that was also a fight that went on for years.
Oh, another one that went on for years.
Yeah.
Until
we finally worked
it out. Finally worked through.
Well, we walked it out on a video. We had we have an online course. So we did a kind of a mock dialogue, which we teach couples about this issue.
But
so
it was totally real.
We reenacted it, and then we did the actual dialogue, which I don't know if we ever really talked about it.
We really have.
And we really got it and understood what was going on, and the issue went away.
What? That is awesome.
Yeah,
see,
it was good.
Y'all inspired us to do skits now.
I'm still
he's
working.
Like, what?
I know I'm trying to pull him in. I mean, this podcast was huge, so let's go slow.
Yeah.
She's
like, we got to do a video. Okay.
I know. I'm always pulling him on TikTok, doing TikTok stuff or doing things. He's like,
oh my gosh, yeah.
I have to warm up to it. That's all.
For sure.
Yeah.
Dancing in front of the cameras.
Right.
Oh, that's a whole different. That's I don't know about that.
I'm the dancer. He would just stand there.
Are you? Oh my God.
Anyway, but I really appreciate you two today.
Yeah, thank you.
DJ, did you have any final words that you wanted to say to our guests today?
Oh no, look, he was taking stuff like right out my thoughts. I was like, oh, okay, all right, cool.
Everything was on paper.
But
you guys are on the same page.
Yeah. Thank you for coming. That was
great.
Thank
you so much for coming. So anything that you would like to tell our guests, any offers, any advice and I say encouragement you want to give to our single people that are listening and anybody else that's not single. Your final words, your final things to say before you head
there's so many great things to say. Just
Well, I can give the advice and you can give the offers. How about that?
okay. Depends what you're gonna say.
No, I think it's always important to have hope, to realize that relationships are really for the purpose of growth and healing, and every relationship can give you that opportunity, especially a marriage, like really the most intimate relationship. And to realize that, yes, it can be great and there's challenges along the way, but the challenges are really an opportunity to really transform into connection. So to be able to hold that hope, don't give up, and just be open and be open to finding Mr. and Mrs. Right, or Miss Right, I guess.
Yeah.
There you go. I love it.
Yeah. And we have some worksheets for people that are dating, and there's a lot of self-awareness, I think, that can be done for people to understand, like, what is it like to be in a relationship with myself? And the more people can kind of question, instead of thinking like, what do I want? I want this thing, and I want this type of guy and this type of girl. Like, instead of thinking about the other person, really try to get clarity in yourself. Like, oh, what is it like to be in a relationship with me? What am I like to be in a relationship with?
Yeah.
And it's a little bit scary sometimes to think about, but like, to really, think from another person's perspective, what is it like to be in a relationship with you as you are now? And that might need some tweaking along the way. And it's all part of life's journey. So we're happy to support the group or the listeners with any dating worksheets if they need. And we have a link to Costa Rica, so we can give a special coupon for the podcast listeners. If they want to go to Costa Rica, that would be our pleasure. And I'm sure you can include that in the notes or the transcript.
Oh, yeah.
We will put in description for sure. Definitely. Y'all look in the description for the for all the things that they got going on.
You can save your marriage and go on the trip.
Right. Get the worksheet, go on the trip, come back and do the 2-day. No, anyway.
Yeah, sounds good.
All the things. It's
all
awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So hey, thank y'all so much for tonight. We really appreciate the conversation.
Oh yeah.
I can't wait till this is out. Y'all be gonna be listening because it's out, but I can't wait when it's actually out. So
thank you guys so much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
It's great meeting you both.
All right. So this has been another episode of When Marriage
And Purpose
Collide. We'll see y'all next time.
Peace.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning into When Marriage and Purpose Collide podcast.
Click on the link in the description to learn a little more about us. Subscribe and send a review on your takeaways or any new insight you have gained in this episode.
See you back here for our next episode. Peace.